Slowly it rises.
Hey, it's ODB, the Lincoln Addict, back with another video. If you're a return viewer, thank you so much for coming back to check out the new video. If you're new, please consider subscribing. I do a lot of reviews on 60s Lincoln Continentals and so much more. But where I want to start is a brief recap. The last video that I had an opportunity to do was a 1962 convertible, and I talked about how this one basically went up to $186,000. So check out that video. I unfortunately did not get an opportunity. It's definitely been a busy May and June for myself, but I did not get an opportunity to do a review prior to this car selling. But this 61 Lincoln Continental convertible, arguably many people's favorite year from the 61 through 69. Of course, the convertibles were available from 61 through 67, and this being kind of a first-year model, of the convertible, of the redesign of the car, it's certainly very, very sought after. This one, I think, someone got a good deal. I'm not going to go into a big in-depth review of this one since it has since sold, but I do feel like for $57,500, it's a good price. I think it's a strong price, but I do think someone got a good deal. And as I often say, many times these cars need at least something, if not a lot. But certainly this car, I think, at just under 60, someone, did walk away with a good one there. Now, I'm going to review this 62 Lincoln Continental Coyote powered sedan. And if I have an opportunity the next 2 days, I'm going to also go over the 62 convertible, and I'm also going to go over the 67 convertible. The thing that you'll notice out of these three, and again, I primarily focus on 61 through 69, of course, is this 62 is at $86,000, but you'll also note that it is an alumni. So that means that it has been sold prior on Bring a Trailer. But something to keep in mind here, oftentimes folks say, hey, they don't like these custom Lincolns and whatnot. I get there's going to be, more of a purist. There's going to be people that say, hey, if you're going to do a motor swap, use a Coyote. Oh, by the way, which is in this car. But take a look at this, $86,000, 3 days left, and it's a sedan. And you just had, as I mentioned, a 61, arguably many people's favorite year convertible or favorite year Lincoln in the 60s, sell for only $57,500. And it's an original car, right, for the most part. So it is something to keep in mind. And I think people constantly scratch their head on, hey, why is someone customizing one of these cars? Well, believe it or not, the world is set out to make money. And when people can say, hey, I could take a sedan and I can swap it, I can change the wheels, I can put air suspension, dare I say, all the things that, let's be honest, a lot of people aren't fans of. And this car immediately, when I went into it, when it listed the other day, I think it was like at $10,000, and it shot up like in no time. It was at $30,000 and then like $60,000. So let's take a quick look. This isn't going to be an in-depth overview, but basically it did sell in 2022, and subsequent modification process was completed, and they list the person that did this. So I always like when they're up front and they kind of say, hey, here's the shop, here's the professionals that did the work. This was a 5.0-liter Coyote V8, so it was swapped, and it has a 6-speed 6R80 automatic trans. It has the 22-inch raceline wheels, and you've got that cognac style, color, if you will, which is pretty cool. And they call the car that, of course. What you see here is obviously a stance that a purist isn't really going to necessarily go for, but it does have the airlift suspension kit. So the 3P is very similar to their competitor with AccuAir, and it allows you to hit a button and then the car will kind of go up to the predetermined presets. Whether you like a Resto mod Lincoln or not, obviously the good thing is you can often spend, as we've seen, a little less money and get a car that's original. But folks will take these cars and customize them because, as you can see, there is a market for them, and obviously the price is pretty solid already. We can see what looks to be here a little bit of modification to the transmission tunnel. The good thing is when this is professionally done, most folks would never catch that. But obviously with these transmissions from the late model vehicles, oftentimes a lot of that has to happen. What we can see here is, of course, decoded digital gauges. These are going to be a must, especially if you're swapping to a fuel-injected kind of modern drivetrain, which they, of course, did. But if you look at the style of the interior, for the most part, it's 100% not factory correct. We get it. You've got your AC controls down here. They've done some different things. Obviously, it's not 100% factory. I get it. But it does have a pretty classy kind of Resto mod look to it. Of course, you got the 5.0 in here, which to me, I've seen these in cars. There's actually one in a car that's sitting at a buddy's house. And when these swaps are done right, they look very, very good. I think the thing that sticks out to a lot of folks is, you'll see individuals putting Continental and things, which I think is a nice touch. But of course, it has that, dare I say, kind of plasticky engine cover. When you look at it, it's a modern engine. There are some things that you can do to kind of do engine covers and different panels and stuff like that. But certainly, I think a lot of people are going to want to pop the hood on a car like this. And, the crowd is going to go, oh, wow, look at that huge engine in there. I mean, that's what people are going for, whether, that's your cup of tea or not. We can see here the suspension in the back, and it looks pretty clean. You can obviously see underneath, and that looks pretty good. What we can see here is the Coyote swap kit. The new Coyote engine itself with the trans was $29,000, if you can believe that. And of course, about $1,000 for the decoded digital. The radiator, you add all this stuff up. Build receipts total over $100,000. And if you've been following this channel, you'll hear me talk about whether you're doing a full restoration or you're doing a resto mod like this. It's key to show this because, possibly a sports figure or someone that has amassed the funds to be able to go, hey, I want to purchase a car like this. They want to know, that they're getting a car that is worth it and that's got the money in it. Beautiful photos of this one. Love this interior space here, of course. I think it really just sets it off, and it helps set the ambiance for this car. If we take a look, again, I'm not going to go through every photo, but what I do see is, to me, the chrome work looks good on this car. It looks nice overall. The paint job looks good. And again, this is what we're seeing from photos. Now, you also see here where I just clicked 303 photos. For anybody that's going to spend some money on a car of this magnitude, you obviously want to have a bunch of photos. A lot of times these door handles aren't in perfect condition. The trim is these cars are 60 years old. A lot of times it's not perfect, but certainly it looks really good in these photos. The other thing to keep in mind is the lighting. So obviously it's in a very nice space. These look like very nice professional style photos. That can be deceiving sometimes in terms of, the lighting. But I think from what we can see, especially like in the mirrors and the paint and everything, they're being very, very upfront about, hey, this is the way the car looks. So to me, that's fantastic. We can see that kind of low profile 22-inch tire, more than likely a Diamondback tire on there, which is what I run. Very, very awesome tires. And I know some of you are thinking, hey, that's some small tread. People have been riding on these kind of 20 and 22-inch low profile and bigger tires for a very long time. And for the most part, you'll be good to go. Again, the interior to me looks very classy. You do have the manual vent windows. So around 62, 63, you basically start to have where Lincoln goes over to the automatic for the electric motors, but this one does have the manual, which again is nothing big there. We can see again the seats look good. If you were to go to your local upholstery shop or a hot rod shop and say, hey, I want to do full interior door panels, carpet, headliner, front and rear seats, and more, potentially a console and stuff, you might be amazed at how much that stuff would run you. So seeing someone that's already done all that work, again, that kind of falls under the build receipts, certainly makes things a little bit easier because, hey, you buy a car if you've got the funds, you turn the key, and you enjoy. We've got a few things that you would imagine under here I've seen in different cars, just toggle switches, wipers, and sometimes, like a cruise control type setup and things like that. This is all neatly hidden under here, so for the most part, you're not going to really see that. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, why do you have to do all that? Well, if you're getting rid of the old MEL 430 and you're looking to modernize it a little bit, the key thing is, you're going to end up with, needing to go with some more kind of late model parts and newer stuff. For instance, the gas pedal, right? You're not going to have that factory throttle pedal, gas pedal, if you will, because of the fact that this is, a drive-by-wire engine. It's not an old school throttle cable. It's going to be electronically controlled. We could see in here, this is not perfect. If I were looking at this, there's a couple of little areas here that you would probably end up going and kind of painting. Again, this doesn't look perfect here. But again, these cars typically, the key thing is they're showing us the photos to kind of say, hey, here's how the car looks. Now, from this angle, it doesn't look bad up here on the stitching. But it's good to me that the more photos, the better. Now, one thing I liked about this car is you've got this, what appears to be custom luggage that comes with it. And with a Resto mod car, especially it being a sedan, you've got the trunk that opens the traditional way. And then, of course, you've got all of the finish work that's done in here that's going to help hide the compressors, the battery. There you see the Vire compressors and some of the little goodies in there, including the battery. Believe it or not, if you didn't know, now you know it's hidden right there, kind of in plain sight. Very well put together car from what I can tell, and I do think that this car, obviously, with the amount of time that's left and where we've seen this so far, I think we're definitely going to see some big numbers on this one. Underneath, again, it looks very clean. Anybody that's going to take the time and money to put in, the Coyote swap and do all that stuff, they've went in here and meticulously done a lot of this. So certainly the clientele that they're going for is someone that can easily fork over the change for a nice car like this. We can see what appears to be the nylon airline up here, all DOT rated stuff. So, it's all nice and clamped. So it's very professionally done. And then, of course, under here, you've got this just awesome cross member. You can see the huge transmission, a lot bigger than the factory. We can see the AC compressor down here. Everything looks real clean and just super well done, in my opinion. Now, if this was a car that you were looking to buy, my feedback is always, if you get a chance, see if you can, get eyes on it or have someone look at it or get on the phone with them and ask them any questions that you may have. The other good thing that I really like about this listing is, again, they have a ton of build photos. So they're showing in here, this is the front cross member where the factory engine mounts would go. They're kind of notching this out a little bit, smoothing it out, re-welding in some of the metal, basically to accommodate the new engine and the new motor mounts and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of work that goes into this, but keep in mind the professionals that have been doing this, when you look at this engine bay, you could argue all day and say, well, hey, I'd rather have the factory stuff. This engine bay is going to look nicer and cleaner than a lot of Lincolns that are cruising around out there. Now, certainly, if you want a factory Lincoln, you can find them. Just keep looking. But this is going to appeal to a certain kind of customer, a certain clientele, if you will. There's a lot of comments on it. And again, we're at $86,000. A Coyote swapped 62 Lincoln Continental. If you like what we're doing here, check out Lincoln Addict Podcast. You can listen to some of the recent and view some of the recent episodes here on our YouTube channel. It's just me, and I do this kind of as a hobby. So check it out, and thanks for all of the support. Stay on the rise, everyone. ODB, the Lincoln Addict, we're out of here.